All right, we have made it to the end of chapter 0. Here's our last lesson. It's all about dividing fractions and mixed numbers, and it should be a quick one. So let's get started. So our big vocab word in this lesson is complex fraction. And a complex fraction is a fraction that's made up of two or more fractions or mixed numbers. Okay, so let's look at an example of a complex fraction. So let's say I had 1/2 over 2/3. So that's one big fraction with a fraction in the numerator and a fraction in the denominator. And really, instead of reading it as over, I would just read this as a division problem. 1/2 divided by 2/3. Now, in chapter 1, we'll see some more complex fractions in terms of rates and ratios, and we'll read them in a slightly different way. Okay? So when it comes to dividing fractions and mixed numbers, we are going to use that complex fraction form. That's actually going to be very helpful to us because it helps us to divide fractions in a really nice, quick, easy method. And we're going to change both numbers, the number in the numerator and the number in the denominator, into fraction form. So if one of them is a mixed number, we're going to make it improper. If one of them is a whole number, we're going to put the hidden one underneath to make them all explicitly fractions. Then we're going to multiply our outers and the inners, and then outers go on top, inners on the bottom, and simplify. So I would copy this down, make sure you understand my little bit of lingo here, but I am going to show you an example, which is going to make a lot more sense, and I'm going to use the terms like outers and inners so you see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so our first example, we only have 2 examples this time. This isn't a big lesson for us. It's 4/9 divided by 3. So the first thing you need to know is that we're going to write this as a complex fraction, and we have to put the first number on top. So we don't have a choice here. We don't get to say, oh, I'll just put the 3. No, you have to put the first number in the numerator of your complex fraction, okay? Order matters. You will get a wrong answer if you do not do it that way. So the way this is written says 4/9 divided by 3, but remember our next note from the previous slide, we have to make sure both numbers are in fraction form. So this 3 has to become a 3/1 by writing that hidden 1. Now we are going to multiply the outers. So the outers would be the top of the first fraction times the bottom of the second fraction. So 4 times 1 is 4, and my outers get written on the top of my answer fraction. Then I multiply the inners. So the inners would be the denominator of the top fraction times the numerator of the bottom fraction. 9 times 3 is 27, and the inners get written in the denominator. Okay, that's it. Nothing else to do here because 4 and 27, they do not have any common factors. Also, 4/27 is a proper fraction, so we are 100% finished with that problem. Let's see another example. 3 3/5 divided by 10. Again, first number has to go on top of my complex fraction. Second number has to go in the denominator. Okay, now we have to change them both to fraction form. So that's really easy for the 10, but for 3 3/5 we have to multiply and add. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18 fifths divided by 10/1. So now we do our outers, which is 18 times 1. We get 18. Our inners are 5 times 10, which is 50. Good news, we are getting another proper fraction, which is great, but we do have to do a little bit of simplifying this time. Both 18 and 50 are even numbers, so I can divide by 2. And that means my simplified fraction is 9/25. All right, so that's it. That's all there is to dividing fractions. I love this method. I'm a big fan because it is so unique and it's quick, and we just take our outers and our inners and multiply and set them up correctly, and we're good to go. Now I'll tell you one thing, the biggest mistakes that I see students make when it comes to solving division problems with the complex fraction, sometimes I see students put the numbers in the wrong places. Like I said, sometimes I see students try to put the 10 on top. That's going to be an issue. You will get a wrong answer if you do that. Your first number has to go first in the complex fraction. The other problem I sometimes see is sometimes students put the wrong number on top in the quotient or answer fraction. Okay, so it's outers on top, inners on the bottom. Okay, so that is it for chapter 0. In your note packet, after you finish the 0.9 book work, you will see a set of reflection questions, and I am going to go over them now. These reflection questions are something you should do every single chapter to kind of get you focused and help you create a plan to study for the upcoming test. So I'll just go over these today. The questions are, which lessons from chapter 0 were easiest for you? So first you want to identify the questions that were the easiest for you because you know that you don't necessarily have to study them as much. Okay. Number 2, which lessons were hardest? Let's do the same thing here. Let's pick out the ones that you know were the trickiest, and then I'd like you to make a plan to study for the chapter 0 test. So write down some things you will do to help you study, and I'll give you some ideas. You can go back and you can correct your book work. You can go back and rewatch some lessons. You can make some flashcards for the couple vocab words we've had in chapter 0. You can see me for help in class. You can talk to your friends about how they're learning the material as well. There's lots to do to get ready for that chapter 0 test. Okay, great job 7th grade. You just finished your first chapter in pre-algebra.